They tell a story about this wealthy philanthropist who was approached by a rabbi for a large donation of $1 million to build a yeshiva. And being that this individual is very secular, he said, I'll give the $1 million on one condition, that you build a yeshiva where the kids don't wear yarmulkes and they don't wear tzitzis. And the rabbi said, no problem. He took the $1 million contribution and he went and he built a girls' school. You know, this week's parsha introduces the mitzvah of giving tzedakah, giving charity. As you know, the saying, what's the greatest nation in the world? A donation. Well, there was a mitzvah in this week's parsha to donate for the construction of the Mishkan, the building of the tabernacle. You know, the three most important mitzvot is Shabbat, kosher, and mikvah. Why are these the top three mitzvot? Because the three greatest drives of human nature is food, intimacy, and to make money. So God says, keep Shabbat. Learn to control your desire to earn money. Have the laws of mikvah observed so you control your desire for intimacy. And eat kosher so you learn to master and control your desire for eating food. Why are these the three areas that the Torah has to place restrictions? Because human nature gets the most pleasure from food, intimacy, and making money. Now, why did God make these three things so pleasurable? And perhaps the answer is because in order for the human race to continue, we need procreation, we need to eat and drink and stay healthy, and we need to build and create. So God infused these three things with a lot of pleasure to motivate us. And I believe that the same thing is true when it comes to charity. There's a great pleasure and joy in giving charity. And I find it interesting that this week, Teruma, is the first week of the month of Adar. And what does it say? Our rabbis tell us when the month of Adar begins, the month of the holiday of Purim, Marbim b'simcha, we have to increase our joy. And the question is, how do you increase your joy? There's no volume button on you to turn it up for the month of Adar. And one of the answers is, help more people during this month. Give more charity. Perform more acts of kindness. Because we all know that when you help other people, when you do an act of kindness, when you give charity to those who are poor and needy, it always brings you joy and pleasure. So a simple way to increase our joy during this month is to give tzedakah. And indeed, on the day of Purim, one of the most important mitzvot of the holiday of Purim is to give charity to the poor. And the second one is to give gifts of food and treats to one another, to our friends. And what the Torah is telling us is the way to be happy is by being a giver, giving, helping others, especially those who are poor and needy. It brings us great pleasure. And I always find it interesting that in the tabernacle, there were no plaques that you could put up and say, oh, the altar was dedicated by the Goldberg family and the menorah was dedicated by the Steinberg family. Because the real joy of charity is not the recognition, it's the feeling of knowing you've helped others. And indeed, we always talk in business about a return on investment. The greatest return on investment of helping others and giving charity is the pleasure and the joy you get. Every time you just think about the fact that you help somebody else, it's a return on your investment. It pays dividends. And when you see the joy you bring to others, there could be no greater return on investment for your charity. But there are two caveats perhaps in this week's Torah portion. The first thing is, the Torah says, where is this money going? To build a tabernacle. When you can see the outcome of your gift, when you can see the tangible result of the effect, the difference it made, then you get greater pleasure. And that's why when you give charity, don't just give charity. Get involved in whatever you're giving charity to. Go visit whatever it is you're contributing to see how your money is helping others and impacting others and shaping people's lives for the better. See the return on your investment so you could get more joy and more pleasure knowing what difference you made in the lives of others. And the second thing is that the very first verse says, Me'es kol ish, every person has to contribute. And indeed, everyone gave a half a shekel. Why? Because when you know that everyone's contributing, that it's a group effort, that while you can't do it alone, if you do your part, collectively with the help of everyone else, we will make this significant change or impact or contribution or build or create something new that will stand to help others, then we are more motivated to contribute and to give of ourselves. And so often in life we think happiness comes from receiving, but the truth is, even more so, Happiness comes from giving, from doing. And every day we have the opportunity to help others. And during this month especially, we have to seize every opportunity to be of help of others, if for the simple reason that it will bring more joy and happiness to our lives. You know, Israel every year gives out a Genesis prize. The prize goes to a Jewish person who made a huge contribution to the Jewish nation. And this year, for 2021, they announced that the winner is Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg is a famous Hollywood producer. He produced many movies. But he's getting the prize because he produced the movie Schindler's List, which brought the consciousness and the awareness and education of the Holocaust to literally hundreds of millions of people around the world. But after the 1993 film Schindler's List, Steven Spielberg was so moved by this experience of producing this movie that he started what is known worldwide as the Shoah Foundation, documenting and preserving the testimonial of Holocaust survivors while they're still alive. And to date, he has done over 55,000 interviews in 32 different languages in over 68 countries. And if you ask Steven Spielberg, who's going to receive the Genesis Prize of $1 million to give to the charity of his choice, I'm sure he would tell you that of all of his greatest accomplishments, the one that gives him the most satisfaction, the most meaning and purpose, is this meaningful film, Schindler's List, that he's renowned for, and the contribution of creating the Shoah Foundation, which will keep the live testimony of these survivors for generations to come. We may not be a Steven Spielberg, but in every one of us in our own way could find a way to make a meaningful impact on the lives of others, because at the end of the day, that will be the source of our greatest joy and happiness in life. Have a wonderful day.